by the people, for the people, the gathering to get healthcare now. Poems, chapter 16. The trains. It cost $12 and included lunch and a tour of the Alamo. It was 55 years ago. We left Southern Pacific Station at 8 a.m. and arrived at noon. I remember the sounds of track clacking. I remember the smell of diesel burning. I remember the tour of the Alamo. It was a time train. It was Santa Ana, El Presidente. It was Bowie and Crockett. It was my fondest memory of school. Now I'm on a train again, going to Santa Ana. I hear the track clacking. I smell the diesel burning. It's another time train. It takes me back to my fond memory. It's roomy. It's slow. It's an easy trip. I'm living 2 times at once, Santa Ana and San Antonio. The trial. There was a trial. All the arguments were made. Every fact brought forth. Every great point stated. There was hear, hear, and hissing. Finally, all things were clearly put. Each side rested, the destiny of each having been proposed by the other. Red eyes glared across the room from each side of the table. Each side was satisfied that the other had been defamed and shown to lack integrity. Cocksure hope had been dashed. The judge found each guilty. He ordered that they kill each other. They fell on the floor and cried. They clung to each other. They said they couldn't do it. They would ignore the judge. They would be mute forever. The argument changed. There was an attachment unbroken by words, a commitment unarticulated, a dependence that, if severed, would cause death. There was great pain. There was loud sobbing. There was a desire to change, to be freer, to be detoxified of schemes, of vague realities, of closed doors, of silent conversations where words are in your mind and not on the other's lips, and desires are on the table and not hidden in your heart. Rather, they offend and forgive than part from each other and die. The baggage from all times past need not drive them mad. They can wash their days with tears and cling to the hope that taboos and fixed paths will either save them or dissipate before their eyes. Clear vision, confidence, and a swelling joy will push back the terror of love lost and life torn from them. Ulrich and Mary. He waited. He waited a long time. She saw his red hair grow thin. She saw his red beard turn gray. She saw his nose change shape. Still they waited. It was not their time. Everything between them was shared. But for one thing they waited. Somehow what they were could not be said with rubber stamps of courthouse clerks and clerics. Somehow all they'd been to each other could not be turned into a set of preconceived conditions rolled out to use like the recipe from his Viking grandmother. So they waited until the slate was clean. They waited until it no longer mattered if they changed any Sun Singer's mores, until it only mattered what they wrote on their slate. They outlasted all the other things they thought they were. They outlasted all the other conditions for happiness and security. Now they've come to write on their slate. They've come to tell their friends that they love to be lovers, that they love to be friends, that they can keep company throughout their lives, each pulling up the other after they fall, each laughing at the other's foibles, each caring about the other's tears. I like your stuff, Ulrich. Ulrich sent me his best stuff today. He had laid out his heart before the world. He sent me his prose, his poetry, his choices of other poems. His stuff is better than what he reads and fuller than the light stuff I've known and dumped so gleefully on him. He likes the language. He likes the way English words wrap around the core of what you see and don't see. English words don't concatenate into a compression of heavy, vague, general everything. They home in on the thought, what is and was and is to be. Ulrich is a poet through and through, full of shit in a straw man's world, but substance to a bartender and other decent folk that hear things well and sing with you and have core to hang on to, whose conversations make you laugh and cry. It's not straw man talk, but what you need to hear before you die. Here's a poem by Ulrich. It's called Another Christmas. If the Christmas wish you wished for me last year were half sincere, if wishes were horses we could ride into the fire of the arriving year, wielding dream as fact and hope as truth, with peace on earth to all, with goodwill and health firmly in our hands. If the wish were just that small, but the dove of peace flies like a lost ruin amidst the pigeons in Central Park. The plains of light in Poland are sheathed now in dark, silent dread. In Ethiopia, children still starve where Charon is famine's friend. In America, commercial bread is leavened in the land. In Afghanistan, the rebel mountains loom over the captured plain. In El Salvador, the dogs of war continue to train. The Hudson River yields a car with a dead bank teller inside, while 21 gypsy cabbies have taken their last ride. Children die in Bedstrew, oft for coat, while the gun lobby tries moral suasion as Congress votes. He dissed me becomes reason enough to terminate a man, for 'tis the season of racial hatred. Lend a helping hand. In California, the news is natural of fire and quake. It seems more sane, but mankind has cut ecological dittos, and now we have acid rain. In labs, worldwide science expands bioliteracy, but diseases recur like some nightmare, even the resurgence of TB. Earth's garbage barge is now in space without a port in sight, loaded with radioactive waste. The half-life portends nuclear night. In South Africa, in Natal, tribes black and white continue to howl on drums of civil strife, choosing between shroud and cowl. There was a wall in Germany made of concrete and taboo, but freedom carved a hole in it, and a politician drove a Mercedes through. It's Yeltsin, a template of change, Soviet? Will Gorby side with the KGB? Can Shevardnadze's floodgates stem the tide? Is free will really free? In Belfast, you can order a pint and kidney pie. The Brits are hanging round, but it's Catholics and Protestants who till the killing ground. Islamic fundamentalists and Zionists vie for primacy. In the Middle East, birthplace of Jeshua ben Joseph, Merry Christmas. Religion is war's yeast. So we write poems with internal rhyme, watching the sand fall in the glass. We send cards at Christmas, marking time till desert shield comes to pass. If the Christmas wish you wished for me last year were half sincere, is there hope and prayer and wish enough to quench the fire of the arriving year? Note bene. Written in 1990, it's the other Christmas I was concerned with. It's the one that believes a wish is sufficient, that hope is adequate, that prayer is all, that we do not have to be in the arena. It's the other Christmas I'm looking at, the one that has convinced us that there's something called inevitability, that change for the better is not a function of human will, that destiny is preeminent, that all the people of the world are somehow different, that the homeless are just vagrants, that, at least it's Christmas, the glass is half full. The waiting time. She is afraid. I'm afraid. It's like waiting on a train wreck. You're spectators, you're passengers. You're in the mountains. The train is crawling up the side of the rise. You feel the rumble of the rocks as they give way beneath the tracks. You know the train's going to fall. You know it will happen, but you don't know the result. There is a vision of the Air Florida plain in the Potomac River. You say to yourself that even in that crash, people were alive in freezing water. How they clung to life. There's consolation, you think, even in the worst accidents. Not everyone dies. Maybe this wreck will spare us. Maybe we'll be set free at the last moment. You look at the track. You feel the rocks slide away. You hear the rumble. Both of you are afraid for every moment until you will be free. You listen, you feel, you cry. You're just passengers. It's the train you're on. It's a slow passenger train through the steep mountains. A warm winter. The winter is still warm. It's probably the rain clouds holding back the north wind and pumping in warm air from the tropics. It's a kind season. There are no blue knuckles, no iced windows, no dead batteries. The wood will last the season. The horses will look fat in the spring. The dogs won't block the doorway. It's a lazy time. The air barely holds back the spring buds. People don't talk much about the weather. Soon it'll be forgotten. Green will paint over the dismal grays.